But I really think that there's nothing really wrong with being in debt. I mean, you have to know the difference, right? We're born into a society where debt is absolutely accepted. It's part of our system. Hello everyone, this is Ronan Blue, just taking my daily walk here today. And today's topic is on how I stop worrying about my finances. So actually this is a topic that a lot of us are thinking about today with the economic conditions that we're facing in this unpredicted circumstance with the pandemic. And a lot of us are forced to be in lockdown, as well as being in unemployment as well, at record levels of 20 million people in the United States, but worldwide, I don't even know what the astronomical number would be for unemployment at this time. But a lot of people are actually thinking about personal finance and their future, right? We all kind of know that this may be temporary, but who knows what the future has will hold for us in the future. So especially with people not really spending as much as they used to, I guess, it's actually created a very deflationary environment at this time. And the governments of the world, the central banking systems have been printing as much as possible to artificially prop up the economies of the world using QE stimulus. So the US Federal Reserve has mentioned that they will do anything and everything to make sure that all industries are running efficiently, and also to give individual households some stimulus as well to boost spending. But that's the new world that we're actually in at this time. So the question becomes, with all of this in mind, how is it that you can stop worrying about your finances? And I can say with certainty that in our particular situation, even way before this pandemic, we actually had the mindset of having to figure out how to, get out of the rat race, basically, and become self-sufficient or financially independent. And although it did take us over 15 years to achieve, even this pandemic has not 100% affected us. I mean, our stock portfolio did dip down close to 30% actually, but it has since recovered. And because we just had the mentality of holding and looking at past economic crises like the 2008 Lehman shock. Now that would be a case study to really study upon of what could potentially happen in the situation that we're facing today, economically anyways. So the same policies are being repeated again. And as I mentioned earlier, QE stimulus was one big part of it. So what did that bring later on in history? It actually brought about a 10-year economic boom with all of that free money circulating from the central banking systems. So, you can kind of make an assumption that that's going to be the same case with the current situation with the pandemic. But we're looking at maybe a decade or more of economic stimulus. So with that assumption, I'm playing with that, and that's why I'm not really too afraid about my finances. So basically over the that 15-year period, we followed certain philosophies such as minimalism, so living below our means, and saving at least 50% to sometimes 60% of our income on a monthly basis So with that surplus, what we did was we invested, we saved and invested, and continued to, repeat that cycle to the point where we had extra money in another savings account that we had, where we decided to pay off our mortgages. So I think we hit financial independence right when we got rid of all of our debts. And that would include, just the credit card debt that we had, as well as the car payments, the car loan, we wiped that out, and also the mortgages. So that was key point. I mean, they say a mortgage is good debt. I mean, why would you pay off your mortgage when the interest rates are so low? But when you pay off the mortgage, it's almost essentially like 100% guaranteed return. So you become house rich, that's true, but then you have absolutely no debt. And essentially with all of that, with having absolutely no debt, you can actually use all of that surplus and invest and grow your stock portfolio for dividend paying stocks, ETFs, index funds, and further grow your monthly income. So that's the whole reason what we actually focused on in the last 15-year period. So that has brought us to financial independence. And the whole goal was not to become rich, but to basically not rely on a full-time job for paying our expenses. So as long as we have no debt and we have a surplus coming in on a monthly basis that covers all of our expenses, and we have a surplus to invest, then we're in good condition. Even in this pandemic, our net worth still continues to rise. So it makes it well worth it. And we are not worried about our finances. But I really think that there's nothing really wrong with being in debt. I mean, you have to know the difference, right? We're born into a society where debt is absolutely accepted. It's part of our system. So using that debt to purchase your first home or buying your first car, buying some of that materialism, you kind of need to be in debt in order to attain those types of assets. But going beyond that, going beyond your means, and to the point where you want to become, paying basically above your means, is a situation where you never want to be in, right? The reason why you purchase a home is because you want a roof over your head. And the reason why you buy a car is to get from point A to point B. And some people actually go overboard and they buy too much space for their homes based on an emotional decision that they made in purchasing a home. And then by doing so, they have to pay more utilities, right? Because they have so much more space to heat up that home or to, cool it down. And also buying a car, for example, you pay extra for more horsepower, for example. See, if you are mindful for those things where you don't really need to overspend, and think of a car as being very practical and just getting from point A to B, and finding all the other alternatives, like you don't even need a vehicle at all to travel. You can take other kinds of transportations out there available. If you keep that all in mind, then, which we did since our 30s anyways, I learned a valuable lesson actually when I turned 20 years old. I got my first job. I worked at the airport, and it was a great feeling because I graduated. It was my own money. I didn't have to rely on my parents. And with all of that new money, I bought stuff all the time. It's just something you do, right? And I never really thought about personal finance because it was never really taught to me. And throughout all these years, through my experience, Watching others as well through their experiences, I found out that there was ways where you can really protect yourself from, that debt that you accumulate, that I have actually encompassed into my being today, being in financial independence. I mean, we both do not have traditional jobs, but we're doing quite fine. And I'll explain some of those reasons now. But another reason why we're not really too worried about our finances is because we're focusing on, right now anyways, on multiple streams of income. So not only do we have rental income from our paid off mortgages, we get a steady amount of income from our tenants on a monthly basis. And we also have dividend paying stocks. So we have individually selected stocks that we occasionally do have to rebalance. During this pandemic, out of the 33 companies we had, 3 of those companies actually cut their dividends, some of them just temporarily. But the point of the matter is, even during this pandemic, a lot of these companies have decided to keep their dividends, and for good reason, because it's telling, the shareholders that their company is doing quite well, it's stable, and that by cutting the dividends, it's showing non-confidence in their future projects, I guess you can say, or just their overall company worth. So from that perspective, we're not really worried too much, as long as you're invested into companies with a really good balance sheet and a really good ideology. But not only is there real estate where we get money on a monthly basis from our tenants, but there's also our dividends, as well as day trading as well. Sometimes for day trading, it only takes about 15 minutes to an hour's time, which is great. It's kind of like a morning routine of mine. And I also have this YouTube channel as well. And my girlfriend has started her own blog, and as well as her own YouTube channel. So we're looking to really look at all of the non-traditional stuff out there. Because, if you think about the economic conditions as they are now, it's you kind of have to now. You have to look at your side hustles, and everyone has their own unique side hustle, unique to their own skill sets, right? So my particular method isn't necessarily the method that you're going to be using, because you have a different skill set. It's maybe a lot more advanced than me. So, but then if you see that potential and you're confident that whatever side hustle that you decide to do, and it also has to be something that you're interested in as well. You have to be passionate for. So that's another point as well. Not only, and after gaining all of this income from your side hustles, you begin to really not worry too much about your finances, because you have a steady flow of income coming in. And especially when you don't have any debt at all, like paying off all of your debt. The mortgage is set to be good debt, but debt is debt, right? No matter where it comes from, it's debt. So even if the mortgage is considered good debt, you get rid of that as well. You get rid of all your debts. And if you think about it mathematically, simply speaking, when you get rid of all of your debt, it just means that all of the surplus that comes in is yours, in your pocket, for what you want to do with it, right? It doesn't have to go to paying off the mortgage anymore. It doesn't have to be used to pay off your car loan anymore. It might still be used to pay off your credit card balance, because you'll start buying things. But as long as you feel you could live below your means, it's an awesome position to be in. And that's the whole concept about being in financial independence. It's not necessarily to become rich, but it's to become time rich, right? and in knowing that your time is limited, right? You only live once. Some people actually have a lot of money on their hands, right? And they can actually retire if they wanted to themselves. You know, you don't necessarily have to pay off the mortgage to become financially independent. Like if you have enough money, you know, to pay off your mortgage, you're essentially already financially independent. So I'm not saying that we're 100%, you know, not worried about our finances, but I would say we're pretty relaxed though. You know, we don't, it's not like we're not getting any sleep or anything like that over it, because we know we have all of this surplus that comes in on a monthly basis that adds to our overall net worth. So if one of those side hustles do fail, we have some backups, right? And also another thing about being in financial independence or on the journey towards financial independence is that you'll have a lot of money, right? The pursuit is to get to a point of 25 times your expenses on an annual basis. But basically what you want to do is you want to calculate your annual expenses and multiply by 25. And that essentially, that number that you have that's uniquely yours is the amount that you should achieve in order to achieve financial independence. So it's a good number to look at. And the point of the matter is, you know, if you keep your savings rate, let's say at 50% to 60% per month, and you have all of that savings, you know, you'll feel a lot more comfortable in doing so. And you can fail along the way as well. But as long as you know that you have a lump sum sitting there in your bank account, then you shouldn't have any worries. And that's kind of like in the position we're in right now, right? Like we have all of that basket of money, and then on top of that we have the side hustles going, and then we're traveling too, right? Like maybe I don't have that fancy vehicle, you know, that fancy home, but we're perfectly fine with that. We're not really into material status, so we actually use those funds to, you know, gain more experiences traveling abroad, and I think that's more important than anything else. Like focusing on yourself, you know, that's worth more than money, I would say. You know, trying to search for your self-actualization. Well, I think I end my vlog here today. Tell me what you think of all the points that I just mentioned about ways to stop worrying about money in the comment section below. If you like this vlog, please don't forget to give me a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell for more of my coming content here. Thanks for watching my vlog. Be free, gain wealth, and travel far.